my name is Rye, and welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're all having another amazing day. I know I am. And today, we are going over the rules for Cores TCG. So, I will have a link to this page in the description. I will just be going over the basic rules, not all of these keywords down here. That will be a separate video, just to keep this video a little bit shorter. But there is a link to this page in the description, as well as a link to several other things like the official Instagram to keep up with the most recent cards, as well as a playlist to all of my Cores TCG videos. Yeah, so check out the description. There's also a couple other links down there, but just check it out. And go ahead and do all that YouTube stuff as well if you haven't already. If you have, then man, you're great. Thank you. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the rules. So, Cores TCG is a trading card game that I make and sell at the gamecrafter.com. Again, a link in the description. And the rules is that it's a game for 2 to 4 players. Each player brings a deck of 40 cards and a legend deck of up to 6 cards. So you have to have a deck of 40 cards, no more, no less, but you can have anywhere from 0 to 6 legend cards, anywhere in between there. You do not need to run 6. The deck, or main deck, which is this deck of 40 cards, is made up of monster and support cards. You can only have up to 4 copies of each card in the main deck, and 1 copy of each card in the legend deck. Of course, this is unless otherwise stated. If cards are banned or restricted in any sort of way, then obviously that would change this, but pretty much 4 cards, or 4 copies of each card you can have in the main deck, or 1 copy in the legend deck. At the start of a game, each player starts with 30 HP, which HP stands for hit points or health, pretty much. You have 30 health, and then we'll draw 7 cards from their main deck. Before deciding who goes first, you may choose to mulligan. I could read all this, but I'm just going to briefly discuss mulligan. A mulligan is whenever you look at your starting hand of 7 cards and decide that you don't like it. And so you shuffle that hand of 7 cards back into the deck and draw a new group of starting cards, but with 1 less card. So if you decide to mulligan with a hand of 5 cards, then you would draw 4 new cards after shuffling. If you have 7 cards in your hand and you mulligan, then you would now have 6 after shuffling and drawing a new hand. It's just a way to have a chance at getting a better hand, but there's the downside if you get 1 less card in your starting hand every time you do it, so there's a risk factor, but you can technically do it as many times as you want until you get 0 cards in hand, and then you can't mulligan anymore. But mulliganing can only happen before the game is officially really started, just when you're drawing your opening hand. Once all players are ready to start, then decide who goes first. This can be done however you want, flipping a coin, rolling a dice, just deciding, oh, because I won the last game, then you can go first or something, whatever you would like. At the start of your turn, gain points equal to the turn number besides the first turn, because every player gains 1 point at the start of the game. So, points are the main resource of this game. The points are what you spend to pay the price of every single card. It's basically, if you're familiar with other trading card games, it's basically like mana. You know, this is the mana for this game. This is this game's resource. And the resource system works very similarly to Hearthstone, if you're familiar with that. So you have points equal to whatever turn number it is. So if it is turn 5, then you would start off with 5 points. If it's turn 2, you'd have 2 points. And with this exception that it's talking about here, that's basically just stating that on the first turn, every player starts off with 1 point, and so you wouldn't gain additional points, you just have the 1 point. Anyway, any points left over from a previous turn are lost at the start of your next turn. So there's no holding on to additional points, all points are just reset at the next turn. So even if you pulled off some crazy combo and got like 10 bajillion points or whatever, once your next turn rolls around, all those points are gone. At the start of your turn, draw 1 card from the main deck, except for the first turn if you're going first. So, just at the start of every turn, you draw a card from the deck, as well as get your points. That's the first thing that is always going to happen on your turn, unless you're going first on your first turn. The reason why you don't get to draw a card on your first turn if you're going first is just for balance purposes. It's to give the players who have to go after the first player something additional to help make up for the fact that you get to go before them. Your turn is broken up into 3 phases. These phases define what kinds of actions can be taken at each point of the turn. The phases are main phase, battle phase, and the end phase. And it's always done in that order. So at the start of your turn, you are in the main phase, and then after that you choose to go to the battle phase and then the end phase, and then you pass your turn on to the next player. You say, alright, it's your turn. First is the main phase, and during this phase you may summon monsters, activate boost field item and gear cards, and summon legend cards. To summon a monster or activate a support card, you must spend points equal to its price. That's where the points come in. During the battle phase, also known as the fight phase, the reason why this is here is because earlier on in the game, I wasn't 100% sure on how everything was meant to be worded, and so in some cases I may have put fight phase when it's meant to be battle phase, but the official term is battle phase. During the battle phase, you may attack with your monster cards, activate trap cards, and attack with gear cards. Monster cards cannot attack the turn they're summoned or if they're tempered. To be tempered basically just means that it's been used, and that's discussed here. If a card is tempered, also known as tapped, tempering works the same as Magic the Gathering and other such games' tapping mechanic works, so again, if you're familiar with that, then that's what this is. If a card is tempered, then that means that it has been used, and all temper cards get untempered at the start of your turn. So it's like a once per turn they can be used for something, typically for attacking. Every time a card, every monster, besides for one particular scenario, every monster has the inherent ability to make an attack. And whenever they attack, then you temper them, you tap them, you turn them sideways and say, it's been used for this turn. You turn the card sideways to show when it is tempered. Okay, well, there you go. When a monster card attacks, they target another monster card and then reduce the target's armor by the attacking monster's power. If the armor is reduced to less than 1, then the monster's discarded. All reduced armor is reset to its total at the start of the owner's turn. That basically just describes how combat and how the stats work. Every monster has a power and armor stat. The power is how much damage they deal when attacking. Armor is how much damage they can receive, or how much damage they will take before going down in a single turn. So if a card has 5 armor, it can take 4 damage, because that 5th damage will reduce its armor to 0, taking it out. So I may have worded that a little bit strangely. Apologies. If a player has no monsters, if a player has no monster cards in play, then they can be attacked directly, reducing that player's HP by the power of the attacking monster. Again, the power is just how much damage that card deals when attacking. After an attack is made, the attacking card is tempered. During the end phase, you may do the same things as the main phase. It functions exactly the same way, besides the fact that you don't draw a card or gain points or anything. But all of the same actions can be taken. You can, play monster and support and legend cards. There are 3 categories of cards, being monster, support, and legend cards. Monster cards have 5 properties to be aware of: name, price, types, stats, and the effect. The name is the identification of a card. The price is the amount of points you'd need to spend to play the card from hand to field. There are 2 different types on each card, on each monster card, being an elemental typing, examples being fire, nature, and dark, and the descriptive typing being plant, alien, beast. It always goes in that order. So the typing to the left of the card is the elemental typing, and the typing to the right of the card is the descriptive typing. There are 2 different stats, being power, the right number, and armor, the left number. So in the bottom right hand corner, there are 2 numbers, a number, dash, and then another number. The right number is the power, the left number is the armor. The power is the offensive ability of the monster and how much damage is done when attacking. Armor is the defensive ability of the monster and is how much damage the monster takes in a turn to be discarded. The effect is unique to each monster and is something extra they can do outside of just simply attacking or being attacked. Support cards have 4 properties to be aware of, being the name, price, category, and the effect. The name, again, just the identification of the card. The price is the amount of points you'd need to spend to activate the card. Support cards are split into 5 different categories, being boost, trap, item, field, and gear cards. Boost cards can be activated during the main and end phase, but only on your turn. Trap cards can be activated during the battle phase and on any player's turn. And then item cards can be activated during the main and end phase, but only on your turn. When item cards are activated, you equip them to 1 active monster card. And then that monster card that you put it onto, that you equipped it to, is the card that's going to gain that effect. Field cards can be activated during the main and end phase, but only on your turn. Once you activate a field card, they stay in play on the field. So they basically function kind of like monsters in the sense of whenever you play them, they just sit there on the board, on the field, on the table that you're playing on. Whereas stuff like boost and traps, once you activate them, then they're discarded immediately after their effects are done. Gear cards can be activated during the main or end phase and only on your turn. So if you're keeping track, trap cards can be activated during the battle phase and on either player's turn, but every other card type for supports can only be activated during the main and end phase and only on your turn. Gear cards, like I said, can be activated then. Gear cards have 2 stats, being power and durability. The power is how much damage is done when attacking with a gear card. Durability goes down by 1 every time an attack is made with a gear card, and when it reaches 0, it is discarded. It's basically how many times you can attack with this gear card. When gear cards are activated, they're equipped onto the player, the one activating the card, and you can only have 1 equipped at once. The effect is the effect is the support... Forgive me. The effect is what the support card does when activated. So, every support card has an effect, it's just what they do. Legend cards have 4 properties to be aware of: the name, types, stats, and the effect. They're very similar to monsters. The name is the identification of a card. There are 2 different types on each card, being the elemental type, examples being water, light, and earth, and the descriptive type being robot, food, and elemental. The elemental and descriptive types they function the exact same way as monster cards, elemental and descriptive types. They're the exact same thing. And the same thing with their stats. They function the exact same way. They have 2 different stats, being power, which is the right number, and armor, which is the left number. Power is the offensive ability of the legend card and is how much damage is done when attacking. Armor is the defensive ability of the monster and how much damage is done, or how much damage the legend card takes in a turn to be discarded. The effect is unique to each legend card and is something extra they can do outside of just simply attacking or being attacked. At the start of, this is where things get unique for legend cards, at the start of every legend card's effect is, what you'll see here is summon, and then a parentheses. This summon, and then with the parentheses next to it, is not just going to be an empty parentheses like that, it'll have text in it. Well, I'll read it out first. At the start of every legend card's effect is summon with that parentheses. This part of the effect states the requirements to play the card. So, for example, if it says summon, and then in the parentheses it says 1 active beast monster, then you'd need to discard 1 beast type monster card from your field in order to play the legend card. The summon effect acts as the legend card's price. So this allows legend cards to have more unique and interesting costs to be able to play them besides just simply points. Sometimes they take cards, sometimes they take cards specifically in play or in the hand, sometimes they take monster cards, sometimes they take support cards, sometimes they take other things entirely, sometimes they do take traditional points, sometimes they require you to lose health. It's wholly unique to each legend card. The next thing, an errata. An errata is a card from a previous set being released into another set. So this is no longer talking about cards in the sense of card types. This is talking about a specific thing introduced in set 4. But yes, an errata is a card from a previous set being released into another set, not a mini set, with 1 or more changes from the original release. You can tell if it is an errata by seeing in the bottom right hand corner, in white text, it'll say set and then a number in little brackets like this. So if you go on to the official Instagram, then you'll see in some of the more recent releases, some cards that have in the bottom right hand corner in white, set 4. That's telling you that this errata, which just literally means, a change, that this card has a change, and that change was made in set 4, and from set 4 and onward, that's when the change will be applied. But anyway, the number is stating from which set onwards the changes will apply to, so, like it said. Anyway, on to the next point. Unlike the main deck, which you need to draw cards from in order to play them, you always have access to the cards in your legend deck. All you need to play a legend card is to pay its summon effect, and then you can play the legend card straight from your legend deck. Your legend deck kind of functions like a second hand in that sense, where you always have access to it. It's just sitting there waiting for you to draw from it. Not literally draw from it as in cards, but play cards from it, I guess is what I mean. just like how your legend cards have a separate deck from your monster and support cards, they also have a separate ground zone, which is known as the discard pile. Effects interacting with the ground zone, unless specifying the legend ground zone, cannot interact with your discarded legend cards. So, legend cards have a separate deck and a separate discard pile, a separate place where they go when they're used. In this game, that's called the ground zone. So you have a ground zone for your normal monster and support cards that are in your main deck, and then you also have a legend ground zone for your legend cards from your legend deck. Next point, and the last point that we're going to go over in this video: if a player's HP is reduced to 0, or if they try to draw from their main deck while having 0 cards in their main deck, then that player loses and is out. If there are more than one player who hasn't lost yet, then they continue playing until either all but one player is lost, or all remaining players concede to a draw or tie. That's the win condition. That's how someone wins the game. Either reduce the other player's health to 0, or reduce the cards in their deck to nothing. The main deck specifically. Having no cards in the legend deck will not cause you to lose the game. And that's all the rules. Again, I would advise you going into the description to click on the link to actually read through it yourself. You'll be able to get a better understanding by being able to sit down and specifically reading through certain portions to make sure you understand how the game works, as well as the fact that I did not go over all of the keywords, which is all of this. I know it looks long, but that's just because there's quite a few keywords and I try to explain them the best I can down there. But all these keywords that are used in card effects, which are basically just Battle Cores jargon, just specialized terms used in this game that relate to specific game mechanics or things that occur in the game. And it is very important that you are familiar with these, which is why I'm going to be making a whole separate video just going over the keywords. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you made it all the way to the end of the video, type down in the comments below what kind of cards you prefer in Battle Cores TCG. Which type of card is your favorite? Whether it's monster or support or legend cards. Or if you want to get more specific with it, maybe what type of set card, whether you're a really big fan of trap cards or specifically of beast type monsters or whatever. Just let me know what you think. And yeah, so again, thank you all for watching. I hope that you all have a absolutely blessed day, and fare thee well.